What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode, and today we are working on 2006 Nissan 350Z. It's right behind me on the lift, so let me tell you a little bit about it. Alright guys, so this bed unit is up on the lift right now, and there's a reason for it. There's something I want to show you in regards of a transmission and a slave cylinder. I know we just did a video previously on a white 350Z, I think it was like 2007, that had a concentric slave. They had to pull the transmission out and get it replaced. But this one has the kit that actually moves the slave to the outside of the transmission, and it makes things a lot easier for the future if it does crap out on you. So we did a clutch actually on this car years ago, but it's back. We're doing some regular maintenance, few upgrades, and I'll talk about that here in a second. But let me show you the slave cylinder. This is a push style slave cylinder. So for the guys who's got like late 06 and on Z's or G's, your slave's going to be on the inside. I'm going to post that video in the link below just so you can see the last one we did. But if you guys do purchase this kit, it basically moves the slave cylinder to the outside. It gives you a different fork. Let me set up the slate so I can actually point at stuff. So it gives you a different fork that goes inside the transmission along with your throwout bearing, and then you get this long push type slave cylinder. It's got a big plate on the back that attaches to your transmission just for another point, and then it makes things easier. So this kit's been on here for quite some time now, and now we have a little bit of seepage coming from this actuator right over here. So today we're going to be rebuilding this slave cylinder. I'm going to go ahead and pull this off here in a little bit, and then we're going to take it apart and rebuild it in case you do have that problem. It is possible to rebuild these. You don't always have to buy a new one, but you can. They're fairly cheap, but for like 20 bucks you can get this rebuild kit. Here's the part number for it. There you go. It comes basically with 2 seals, a new boot, and a new bleeder, but I think we're more after the 2 O-rings that come after inside that bag. So we're going to be rebuilding that, and it just makes things a lot easier if you guys are in a situation where you have to replace your concentric bearing or slave cylinder for your 06, late 06 and on 350s. You kind of might as well go with that setup, because if it does take a crap in the future, it's very easy and simple to replace it. You don't have to pull your transmission back out. So that's what we're going to do today. But a little bit more about this car, I'll pull it down in a little bit after we get that slave all rebuilt and bled. So this is also a twin turbo kit, Greddy. This is kind of the same as the red car we just recently worked on, and I'm going to post a dyno video for that vehicle here shortly. But we're going to do the same thing for this unit. So once we get everything buttoned up and fixed, we're going to be taking this thing to the dyno. Currently I'm going to be waiting on some 1050X injectors and some uprev GT map sensors, and then we're going to go and dyno this one out. And it's kind of curious how much different this one's going to be from the red one, because the red one was a DE with a Greddy twin turbo, and this is an HR motor with the same exact turbo kit setup. It's going to be on the same tune, uprev, or same software I should say. So I'm kind of curious what the difference in power, if it's going to be the same or not, but we'll find out that in the next few videos. So right now we're going to yank that down and show you how to rebuild it. Alright guys, so I went ahead, pulled this slave cylinder down and disassembled it. So this is what this unit looks like disassembled. You got one hind joint there, your nut, your little boot, the actual housing where everything sits, and this whole push rod, or pull rod I should say, goes through there. This is the actually seal that seals the fluid from getting pushed out to where we actually leak. And there are some O-rings, I'll get to that in a second. And then you have your spring, and then your housing, and then your adjustment rod. That's right here. And don't forget, it's always a good idea to either mark it or count how many threads you have for your adjustment if you already had it installed. So I did mark it with a pen over here, with a paint pen, but this side unfortunately got some fluid on it and it got all wiped off. But I do know under this rod we only had 2 threads showing, so it shouldn't be that bad to find our adjustment. And so the kit comes, I want to point something out, the kit comes with this boot, which is fine, the bleeder, it's whatever, but it comes with this seal, which goes right here. That's what we actually need. And then they give you 1 O-ring, bam, right there. So this O-ring sits inside this hole. Where's my flashlight? Sits inside that hole right there. It's too difficult to show, but you can kind of see it. There's a groove right there. So there's actually 2 O-rings. There's one that's closer to the top right here, and there's one that's down lower. But the kit only comes with 1 O-ring. So I don't know why. I don't know if this kit they missed one or what, but we're going to be replacing both O-rings. So just so you know, this is a number 7 O-ring in case your kit doesn't come with one and you need an extra one or you end up ruining it. That's a number 7 O-ring that you will be needing for that. And I don't get it. We don't partially want to rebuild this. We actually want to replace all the components that are responsible for, you know, fluid leakage. But somehow we only end up with 1 O-ring in our bag. So anyway, 2 number 7 O-rings and the seal. That's the important stuff. Sorry about the phone call. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. Anyway, I'm gonna get these O-rings installed into the housing, get our seal replaced. This seal actually sits in that groove right over there, so you got to stretch it up and over this cone area. And then we're going to be putting all that together. The spring goes so you can't really mess it up. You can't. So there's a seat on this side, and you can't really get the wide part of the spring in there. So the skinny part goes in there first, and then it kind of opens up, and the wide part sits in this part of the housing. So pretty simple rebuild, nothing crazy over here. And I'm going to get this together and then clean it all up, and we'll going to be ready to reinstall it. Okay, we got the slave reinstalled. It's right here. We got it all bled, so we got no fluid leakage anywhere. This is all dry. Actually, it went and shifted through several gears several times just to double check everything. We got the slave slightly adjusted to bring it in just a little bit, so everything looks good over here, nice and dry, just the way we like it. And this is ready to go back down now. And here's the exhaust. The guy's got a Greddy exhaust just like the red car. And we also did the bushing on this, guys. I've done more of these bushing in the past couple weeks than I ever have. Seems like every car that comes in has a bad one in it. But anyway, so this is all good now. And one last thing, our injectors actually arrived, so we're going to be putting that on. They're over here on the table. So we're going to pull out the 650s, and we actually end up with going with the injector dynamics with 1050X. So these are going to be going on right now. Along, we picked up some pigtails so we don't have to chop the OEM harness. I'm not really a fan of cutting any OEM harnesses, and you can buy these for fairly cheap, so you don't have to do that. So we're going to go ahead and pull the intake manifold off now and get these injectors installed and then fire this thing up. Oh, our MEF sensors from UpRep also showed up, so we're basically ready to go to the dyno as soon as I get all this installed, and then we'll get our appointment scheduled and get going. So let me get this thing down and we'll start replacing injectors. All right, the fuel rail is out now, and it's pretty simple, straightforward. We're just gonna pull all these out. I already went ahead and pulled the seals out of the intake runner. So there's 6 of them that you gotta yank out. Usually they don't stay. They're just for the bottom of your injector right over here. But once you yank them, most of them, they just stay in your runner. So you gotta yank them out, take a little pick or something and pull them up. So when I had yanked them out, clean the seats, so this is ready to go down there. And now it's just straightforward. We're gonna change one by one. So these are our old 650s. And now another reason we're changing them, or the reason we are changing them, is we had a bad misfire. We had a random misfire, and then we got a misfire actually on number 2 cylinder, and we swapped these injectors around, 1 and 2, and then it followed over to 1. But I know these are old style injector and they're not available anymore, and most likely they cannot be fixed. So we went ahead and upgraded to 1050s just in the future if the customer decides to run E85 and try to get a little bit more power out of the vehicle. These will be perfect for him. So these already come with a little standoff or the little seat that makes these the same height, and it's basically a universal injector, but these seats that you see, oops, sorry, but these seats right here where you see with a clip on, these come different lengths. So whatever your car requires, they'll give you the ones for your vehicle. So anyway, we're just gonna go ahead and put them all in and try to keep these caps on, and try not to finger this little port where the fuel actually comes out, just because it's a possibility for your oil from your fingers get on it and clog it up, or just put some kind of debris on it, which you don't want. So I'm gonna go ahead, yank them all out, replace them, and then we should be able to start putting this back together. Installed now. We got our pigtails installed, zip tied out of the way, so this is all good. All 6 are in, and the only thing I failed to mention, guys, just make sure when you guys do put them in, throw a little bit of fuel on your new O-rings, or fuel, some kind of lube, so once you press them down they can just slip, and you're not going to run into a problem where you rip it, or they're going to roll on itself and then leak on you later. So what I'm going to do now, I also threw a new O-ring on our fuel dampener right over here, hooked up our fuel return. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to set you down, I'm going to flip the key on, and we're just going to double check, make sure nothing is leaking before we reinstall our intake manifold. Okay, we got no leaks. We just cycled the key several times just to build some pressure, because obviously everything was empty, so it took a little bit to get it up to get everything filled up. So I like it. We're good to reinstall the manifold. I'm going to do that next, and then we're going to go ahead and fire it up. I'm not really sure what it's going to run like, just because it was tuned for 650 injectors and now we got different setting, but we're at least going to crank it up and make sure it fires up. So let's do it. Everything's buttoned back up, and now I'm going to go ahead and fire this thing up and see how she idles with the new injectors. And then our MAF sensors are actually going to be installed once we have the tuner, because they do need to be calibrated. So they're going to stay as an OEM setup for now. But here we go. Well, you heard it. The idle's pretty smooth to me. If you guys heard it before when it first arrived, it was, you know, backfiring and all kinds of stuff. So the idle kept shooting up to 2,000 and back down, but you know, the injectors are bad and they were clogged 100%. So now that we got some fresh new injectors, the idle was smooth. There was no backfiring going on, nothing. And we also added a Z1 recirculating catch can right down here, so it's looking pretty nice. Everything looks nice in OEM. I wish we had some black couplers and some black hoses to replace these blue ones, then it will look real nice. But the only thing that will make this engine bay look better is put a 2JZ in it. I'm just kidding. But anyway, guys, so this thing's going to be going on to the dyno. We'll schedule that appointment here shortly, and then we will compare the two cars. We had a DE, if you guys haven't seen the videos, same exact kit, and we just dynoed that thing about 370 or 380ish or something. I'll link that video in below. And so this one's next, and I'm curious to see the difference between the two with identical setups. So this is a HR motor, the other one was DE. But anyway, car came out looking very nice. Everything looks good. I'm just going to do a little bit of detailing in the engine bay so it's nice and shiny for the customer, and I'm going to see you at the dyno. So guys, thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, comment below, and I'm going to see you next time. Take it easy.